What's going on, y'all? Paul Baroza here for the 6th edition of NBA Finals video recap blogs for the paulstreetjournal.org. Took the show on the road this week up in Houghton to move my sister out from her house at Michigan Tech. Heading to the Peace Corps in a few weeks. Went on a nice hike today. UP is a very beautiful place. Saw a couple waterfalls as well. Then went out to a pretty fantastic dinner where I got barbecue, brisket sandwich. Made it back to her house just in time to watch Game 6, a game where LeBron scored 41 points to lead the Cavs to a 115-101 victory, forcing a winner-take-all Game 7. Pretty much every game in this series has sucked. But hey, if Sunday's game lives up, it will all be worth it. And for the second time in two series, we have entered danger zone for the Warriors. 2 games ago, it seemed like they were destined for a repeat finals performance. And as I've been saying throughout the series, I think they're a better team than the Cavs. This Warriors team is not the team we saw in the regular season. And right now, it might not be the team that we saw build the 3-1 lead. They get more and more injured by the day. Bogut was out after hurting his leg in Game 5. Curry's knee and ankle and elbow injuries have been well documented at this point. And Iguodala has black flare-up tonight. And now we're going into Game 7 undermanned against LeBron. And if you're Golden State, that is not a position that you would like to be in. Speaking of LeBron, as I mentioned earlier, another scintillating performance, back-to-back 41-point games. And just apart from that, his defense and rim protection continued to be incredibly good today. He had a nice block on Curry, a couple nice big defensive plays that really shifted or seemed to shift momentum. And as I talked about last game, anytime LeBron is making jump shots, which he did again tonight for the second straight game, he becomes nearly impossible to stop when you have to go around or go above screens or hedge a little bit farther on him. It makes it just that much easier for him to get to the basket. And James is maybe the best player we've ever seen at getting the basket, or definitely one of the top 5 or 6. Of course, if James comes out and throws up 19 and 21 shots on Game 7, all the goodwill he's done to boost his image will probably be undone. His critics will come back out, as they often do, but after seeing what he's done in the last couple games to spurn this Cavs comeback, you will not be hearing that here. I'm in total awe of everything LeBron's done in the last 2 games. And I find it hard to believe that anything he could do in Game 7 would shift my mind about how he's impacted this series. But for the second time in the series, I thought the game was all about, aside from LeBron, the game was all about the Golden State getting off to another slow start. Again, they got pretty good open shots early, and they were playing pretty good defense in the half court, but none of those open looks were falling, especially Barnes, who missed everything. And when they started not connecting on things, they gave the Cavs a couple long rebounds, and the Cavs were also able to take advantage of a bunch of bad turnovers again to go up 9-0, and then taking a 31-11 lead at the end of the first quarter. And Golden State was able to cut the deficit to single digits on several occasions, as you'd expect them to do with their offensive firepower. They got to 8 with 4.5 minutes left in the second, and then they had a series of times they got it under 10 in the fourth, got as close to 7, but each time the Cavs were able to come back with a little mini run. LeBron was really spectacular on those plays, and Irving in the first half sort of led the Cavs to get the lead back out to 16. And as they kept talking about in the broadcast, Golden State definitely has the pieces and the firepower to come back from these deficits, but they haven't shown the consistency in these playoffs where you expect them to be able to do it. And when you play or when you fall behind so much early, you have to be basically perfect the rest of the game. And Golden State, maybe it's because of the injuries, probably some frustration boiling over. They had some problem with energy, but for whatever reason, they have not been able to put even a couple quarters of consistent basketball together without at least having a little run of turnovers or bad shots or missed shots. How much did the Bogut injury impact that? Obviously, this is the first game in the series he didn't start, and there were some differing opinions on that. The broadcast definitely thought he impacted it, but I don't think his absence had that much of effect. Much like last year's finals, Bogut's minutes had decreased as the games went on, and I didn't expect him to play a ton in Game 6 or Game 7 if he was healthy anyway. And I'm pretty sure that Kerr would have gone small for Game 6 even if he was healthy. Ezeli played pretty bad in his stead at the center position tonight. Kerr has not trusted him all playoffs, and you can see why Ezeli seems to be kind of in a funk. He's sort of lost his way. There's one possession tonight where he had a wide open layup/dunk and decided to turn around and shovel it to Klay Thompson, which turned into a turnover. But that being said, defensively, I think Ezeli matches up a lot better against what the Cavs are trying to do, especially against Irving. Bogut can't quite slide up as much on the pick and roll. He has to drop back a lot farther. And even though Irving wasn't great in the second half again tonight, he's just been so good in this series hitting his jump shots. At least the last 4 games of the series of hitting his jump shots, that you wonder if Bogut would be able to survive with dropping back as far as he did, because LeBron and Kyrie have been able to walk into 18-foot jump shots anytime he's on the court. The bigger problem I thought for Golden State tonight, rather than the Bogut injuries, how bad Harrison Barnes played. He was 2 for 11 in Game 5 and somehow got worse on that in Game 6. He was 0 for 8. And it's not like these shots he's getting are contested or even guarded at all. He's pretty much taking exclusively wide open shots. And when you don't have to defend a starter who plays that many minutes and who is so critical for your small units, for your ability to switch, when he becomes an absolute zero on the offensive end, it makes it so much difficult or so much easier for Cleveland to defend Golden State. They can basically treat him like a Tony Allen, and it's not like his shots were even that close for the majority of the night. He wasn't getting a lot of things that were rimming out or looked like they were destined to go, and he was missing pretty badly. And you wonder just how much money he's cost himself this offseason. With all the cap money that's going to come into the league, I think there's a fair chance that he's still going to get the $20 million that you would have thought he would get. But you just have to feel so bad for like the Hornets or whatever team is unlucky enough to have to spend their money on Harrison Barnes, because he does not show up in big games. And I think Barnes' issues have been sort of a microcosm of Golden State's problems as a whole in the last couple games, and that's that nobody besides Curry and Thompson have been able to score. Curry hasn't been great, but he's scored the last 2 games. Him and Thompson combined for 55 points tonight. Curry was really hot in the first half. Thompson got electric hot in the fourth quarter. But outside of that, nobody else really showed up. He had a little run by Barbosa in the second quarter, and he played again again in the fourth as well. But if with Iguodala notwithstanding, if Barbosa is your most consistent non-Curry or Thompson player, that does not bode well for you for the Warriors going to Game 7. They're certainly going to hope to get some more contributions from somebody else. And I think kind of ironically, a couple games ago, or while after Game 2, Golden State's bench was basically, or Golden State supporting cast was basically the toast of the town, the greatest collection of supporting talent ever. The rhetoric coming out of Cleveland at the time was that LeBron again had no help, and oh boy, how things can change. Outside of Kyrie, Cleveland really hasn't gotten a ton of scoring consistently out of any one player off their bench. But with how much Kyrie and LeBron dominate the ball, I don't think that's necessarily incredibly surprising. However, collectively, I think Cleveland's second unit, as well as players like Thompson, and pretty much everyone other than Love has been able to find ways to contribute and put forth some meaningful minutes. Jefferson has been one who we've talked about a couple different times in the series. Dante Jones had, 2 good minutes tonight in the first half where he drew a foul, or 2 fouls, scored 3 points. Mo Williams didn't play badly, and none of them really filled up the box score, but they provided good minutes and good energy, and they weren't negatives when they were out there, and that's basically all you need if you're Cleveland when you have players like LeBron and Kyrie to saddle most of the scoring duty. A couple notes on the game. I thought it was interesting to see the Warriors. Well, I guess not interesting. It was necessary for the Warriors to switch up how they guarded the pick and roll. They did that mid-second quarter tonight where they started trapping Irving anytime his center set a screen on him. I thought they yielded pretty good results. Irving has dominated all of Golden State's centers. He's just too quick. They cannot stay in front of him. And instead of switching or trying to have somebody fight over the screen, Thompson or Curry, I think trapping and making Irving give the ball up, which is not his strong suit, and maybe giving it up to somebody like Thompson far from the basket, might be a better option going forward. Another thing I noticed that's pretty notable, I think everybody notices, Love continues to really suck. We talked about Barnes losing himself money. Love might not be a free agent this offseason, but it's hard to think of anybody who's had a more precipitous decline is in their perceived worth than Love has in this NBA Finals. Very rarely do you see somebody get in his head as bad as Love's gotten in his. He seems to have no idea what he's doing on the court half the time. His defense continues to be pretty bad, but on offense, he's just gone into a complete shell. He took 3 shots tonight. He's had 8 over the last 2 games. He's 2 for 8. And he basically doesn't do anything. He just kind of sits in the corner. And this is a guy, 2 years ago, averaged 26 and 12, and a lot of people were talking about him as one of the top 5 or 10 players in the league. And it's pretty unbelievable to see the drop in his play. It's almost like a baseball player, something with the yips, except instead of not being able to throw at first base, Kevin Love can't throw anywhere or hit or do anything. A couple more things. Cleveland went to LeBron post-ups a lot more today. I thought he burned Curry a couple times. Took Thompson down there, and he took Iguodala down there a couple times as well. They were actively looking to switch Curry onto LeBron and then take Curry to the post in the first half. And even though the Warriors did a pretty good job at handling it, I think that it's something that the Cavs could look to go to in Game 7. It forces the Warriors to switch or to help in maybe ways they don't want to. And even though they're probably the best help and recover team in the league, I think when you have LeBron, who is probably the best passer out of the post in the league, and somebody that demands extra attention on his post-ups, I think Cleveland was able to get a couple nice possessions tonight where he kicked the ball out and they could swing it around, and I think that they could probably continue to do that in Game 7. That is, unless Iguodala stays out, or if Iguodala can't be his normal self. When he went out tonight, Green spent most of his time as on LeBron as his primary defender, and if he does that again in Game 7, I don't think Cleveland will go to post up LeBron as much. But that being said, I do think that is a good sign for Cleveland. Green can do a pretty good job straight up on LeBron, at least as good as anybody else on the Cavs roster, but it inverts how they normally defend a pick and roll. Oftentimes, especially when they're small, it's Draymond is guarding Thompson or whoever is sitting the screen for LeBron or Kyrie, and that's really one of the best things he has on defense is communicating how him and whoever is guarding the player that is being screened, how they're going to defend the pick and roll, and he's really good at helping and recovering. And instead of him being the one to help and recover, it forces Barnes to be the one who's hedging out on the pick and then trying to get back to cover Thompson. And as you saw tonight, Thompson, he's not great on offense, but when you throw him lobs near the rim, he can certainly finish them. And it's just not something I expect Barnes to be able to do well. Last thing, Curry, again, found his offense tonight. He had 30, but it just still hasn't seemed to be the same Steph Curry that we saw in the regular season. He's still not really getting to the rim, not finishing in the paint, not dominating the ball nearly as much as he used to. And it's not one thing I don't think. I've been over this a little bit, but it's just I think it's all his ailments kind of catching up to him. It's hurting his explosiveness a little bit for sure. And I don't think it's been super difficult for him off the ball, but more super annoying with Cleveland just grabbing him and groping him and bumping him every time he's trying to come around to pick. And I think you saw that frustration boil over a little bit tonight. He fouled out and then got the technical. I think the last 2 fouls on Curry were a little bit iffy, but still, I don't know if that's what you want to see him do. Gambling, not 80 feet from the basket, down 13. I guess if you're going to do it, that's the time to do it, but it just seems like a no-win play when your team still theoretically has a decent chance to get back into it, or still a fighter's chance at least. Not sure if the outburst, well, it was certainly out of the ordinary, will have much of an effect on Game 7. Through a mouthpiece, maybe. I doubt the NBA would suspend him. It is Steph Curry. But if he continues to get in foul trouble like he did tonight, that will have an impact on Game 7. Speaking of Game 7, last thing, I'm going to write a lot about this, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but just a couple keys for the Warriors. It's just really all about bringing the energy that you've lacked in the last 2 games and then getting off to a good start. You're at home, best home court advantage in the league, and when the Warriors can hit some shots and that crowd can start going, they become nearly impossible to beat. And then for Cleveland, I think Kyrie and somebody else needs to have a good offensive game. I didn't include Love here, but come on, I think we can rule that one out. LeBron is going to affect Game 7. But after scoring 41 points in back-to-back games, I think it would not be out of the ordinary for him to regress a little bit as far as his point scoring goes. He could still be, fantastic and the best player on the court and score 30. But while the last 2 games have both kind of felt like dominant Cleveland wins, they were single-digit, 6, 7, 6-point games in the fourth quarter. And if LeBron scores 10 points less and Cleveland can't find anybody else to pick up a little bit more scoring load, that's going to hurt them. However, they've done a really good job at it so far. And if you're Cleveland, I think you have to feel pretty good, all things considered, where you're going in. That's where we're going to leave it tonight. Thanks. A little bit long one, but a lot of things to talk about, and there's only 1 game left. So thanks for tuning in. Check out the Paul Street Journal tomorrow for keys to Game 7 article and for all your NBA article, or NBA info. Till Sunday, Paul Rosa signing out.